Hey everyone, welcome. Welcome to Underwritten. My name is George Pleshkewych, also known as the Mortgage Dad. In this video, I want to call it a video series, not a podcast. This is a video series that will air and be on my YouTube page, and I will take snippets of this and put it on different social media platforms to really have a chance to sit down with guests that I'll have on a ever so frequent basis. And it's not going to be a set schedule. That's one thing I don't want this to be, is podcasting on a set schedule. This is a video series of where I try to address various concerns, various things happening in the real estate market, so that everybody and viewers and listeners and local people here in the Rockford area understand that we get what's happening, and we want to inform you guys on what's coming up and what to expect, how to get through certain situations, things you should be listening for rather than maybe listening to mainstream media or the voices that are out there. So what this video series is called is Underwritten, and it is going to be Underwritten, a mortgage minute with the Mortgage Dad. And we are kicking off today's episode with a special guest, none other than the Ryan Rydell. Welcome, Ryan.
Hi.
That's it? You just got high.
Hey, look, you said a mortgage minute, so you got 60 seconds.
60 seconds. I don't know if I could do everything in 60 seconds, but I appreciate y'all listening and tuning in to us. So, Ryan, first of all, I want to give you a little plug. Thank you for coming on. So you do marketing, Rycom Creative. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Man, I thought we were here to talk about you.
We are. And we'll get to that.
And this amazing real estate market we got right now.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know what, though? Let's talk about that for a sec, because, yes, I own Rycom Creative. We do a lot of really amazing things for a lot of really amazing businesses. So if you're looking for marketing help, by all means, you know where to send people. But let's talk about real estate, because I'm moving right now. And I've got all my stuff moved from my old place into my new place, but my new place is new construction, okay?
Yes.
And in new construction, you need what's called a certificate of occupancy.
100%. I know all about that.
Yeah. I currently do not have a certificate of occupancy, so all of my stuff is in my new place, and I cannot sleep there. So
that's got to be stressful.
Housing matters, and right now I don't have any, so I'm bouncing between any bed I can stay in. Hotels are my friend right now.
Hotels.
But I will say this: hotel coffee sucks.
It does. That's why Starbucks and your local shops exist.
Yeah.
And they blow away hotel coffee 1,000%.
Every time. I've got a new love for Starbucks, that's for sure.
So you say that, and you're displaced not for reasons of the market that we're living right now. You're displaced because your builder for the unit where you're moving to does not have the occupancy permits in hand yet.
Not yet.
But you moved all your stuff.
Correct.
Cool. Well, that's unfortunate. But hopefully
it's been fun.
Hopefully you'll have the occupancy cert here this week, I'm told, and you'll be able to sleep in your own bed.
Hopefully real soon. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The place is gorgeous.
That's awesome.
Not nearly as gorgeous as your house.
Oh, stop it.
George, all the listeners out there, George has a keen eye for design. This guy knows what he's doing. Gorgeous place.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that. You mentioned not being able to occupy your property. Right now, this is, I think, the biggest, most important factor that a lot of experts are missing when they talk about housing. They talk about that the housing values are going to come crashing down. They try to scare you. That was the story going into 2023. Everybody talked about there's no way this is going to sustain. We're in a housing bubble. Values are going to drop 50%, whatever, 20%, 30%. All these experts came on at the end of last year, and they predicted this was the year, right?
I've heard all of it.
Yep. And unfortunately, or fortunately, they were all wrong. And housing market today is highest that it's ever been in the history of housing as far as value.
And that's
So-
a big deal.
It is.
That's a big deal.
Do you know why?
I'm going to leave that to the experts, George.
Yeah, but do you have any guesses? Take a step.
I believe it's probably because inventory is low, demand is high.
That is
If I
part
know
of the
anything
reason.
about economics.
So yes, you got it nailed down. It is economics. It's supply and demand.
Yeah.
There is a housing shortage currently in the United States, and it is highest it's ever been. So what I mean by that is there are more people looking to buy homes than there are homes.
Mm-hmm.
And that number, before rates went up. So everybody's talking about how rates are 7-8% coming,
Which
and
is
who knows
which
where.
is 300% of what it used to be just a couple years ago, right?
Correct. So
Yeah.
let's go back to 18 months ago. 18 months ago, when the rates started coming up, they were still 3 and 4, and there was a housing shortage, and I think the numbers were somewhere in the 4.5 million range. 4.5 million reasons why the demand was so high. Everybody was out there looking at homes. Every home had 20 to 30 offers. I remember before this market the interest rates went up,
Mm-hmm.
everybody out there was looking for a home, was willing to pay $30,000 to $40,000 over ask, waiving appraisals, waiving all sorts of things on the contract just to get their contract accepted. And that is crazy. That was because there was a 4.5 million home shortage. So what happened? What happened is 18 months ago, rates started rising and rising rapidly. So what did that do? That tightened up inventory. Okay. So when inventory goes down and demand goes down with it, you would expect most people, and what experts were saying is, when inventory goes down, values are going to drop because there's not going to be home sales. On contrary, the reality of it is the housing shortage went up from 4.5 million to now 6.5 million.
So there's even more homes.
It's even more displaced homes.
Yeah.
People living with their parents, people doubling up, families doubling up. People are homeless. And that is the issue only got worse in the last 18 months. So now we're at 6.5 million. We're no better off. The supply is still way lower than demand.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're getting a whole bunch of people that are making 20 to 30 offers on a property up in the market still today, just way less homes on the market. So nothing shifted we're still fighting for deals.
So this idea that interest rates going up has hurt the sellers. Are you saying that that's not the case? Like, you can still sell your
100% that's not the
You're
case.
going to get a really good offer for
Yes.
it. And
Yes.
people are
In
still
fact, you're going to get
buying.
the best offer. Values have never been higher.
Yeah.
So the demand has gone down because there's less homes. But the demand in proportion to the amount of inventory has not changed. In fact, it's gotten worse.
Okay, so how does that work, though? Because with every sale, there's a buyer, there's a seller. Seems like it's really great for the seller, but very competitive for the buyer.
Yes. So 18 months ago, when this started, when that shortage really ramped up, and it really ramped up over COVID. Nobody was building. Everything kind of stopped. Everybody lived at home, worked from home, and the short housing shortages blew up over that time frame. And we went from 4.5 million to 6.5 million, and the demand was crazy back then. You had maybe, let's just use as an example. This isn't statistically accurate, but you say you had 1,000 homes for sale, and you had 1,500 buyers for it. So now there's 100 homes, but 200 buyers. So the proportions are still out of whack, and they've gotten worse. It's just there's less available. And what's going to happen? So everybody that predicted that values are going to crash this year were way off.
They were wrong.
They were wrong. Yeah. And I was preaching that they would be wrong, and they were. Everybody that is now predicting that values are going to crash when the rates come down, they're still wrong. Do you know why?
No.
There's 6.5 million reasons why.
Well, you said that just
There's
a second
still
ago.
a shortage. That's not going to close. So
I promise when we do this again, I'll pay closer attention. I'll take notes next time.
So yeah, there in a year or two, when rates come back to 4%, 5%, when rates, kind of come back down to earth, when this inflation issue's under control,
Okay.
you're gonna see those home buyers that have not been moving, that have been sitting at home, come back to the market. Well, those people are gonna want to buy another house. So yes, it's gonna flood the market with buyers, but it's also gonna flood the market with homes. But until that shortage is closed of 6.5 million homes, there is not going to be a decrease in value.
Yeah.
For properties.
Well,
it's supply and demand.
I mean, when was the last time we ever saw a decrease in value? Wasn't that 15 years ago?
It was 2008.
Yeah.
After the housing crash.
The crash, right.
But the crash 15 years ago was different than what we're dealing with today. It was all foreclosures is what led to the what do they call that? Yeah, not depression.
The recession.
Recession, thank you. The housing crash is what led to the recession. And that's where the foreclosures were, and the marketplace was flooded with homes.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't have a shortage. But since then, we've slowly caught up, and now we're so depleted because they're just not building enough homes.
Yeah.
Not nearly at the pace that they need to bring the shortage down.
No, I'm seeing houses being built. I drive around all the time, right? I'm seeing houses being built. I'm seeing commercial being built. I've got a lot of clients, a lot of real estate clients, lenders, bankers, financial advisors, builders, roofers, you name it. I got a bunch of clients, and they're all doing relatively well.
They're just not
the
building.
houses are being put up. You're just saying it's still not at that
not even close.
Early 2000s level.
Correct.
Okay.
Back then they had probably thousands of homes going up every year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were building neighborhoods at a time.
Yeah.
And right now, what you're seeing more of is the custom homes. Builders are still building.
I'm absolutely
100%.
A few neighborhoods that, as a matter of fact, one of my old neighborhood of a really good friend of mine, been there for quite a few many years, and vacant lots. And within the last year or two, you start to see that building coming back, where they're actually developing out those neighborhoods again. So you're saying that's a good sign. Things are doing good. They might not be 2006 levels, but house values are still rising.
They're gonna rise. So
people are still building.
The economists are forecasting it's going to take anywhere from 5 to 10 years to catch up on the shortage.
Okay.
So that means that values are going to continue to go up
for that long.
So which leads to my next thing that I want to kind of bring up in this realm of what we're discussing is I'm fearing that, and I just saw an article. I don't know if it was Bloomberg News or I don't remember what outlet, but I just read an article a couple days ago where the first-time home buyer is disappearing. It's happening. And the reason is because values are going to continue to go up, but incomes aren't going up relatively with the values of properties. So,
so
it's going to get to the
level buyer. There's going to be fewer of them. You're saying that more people are going to be renting.
Correct. And you're still going to have first-time home buyers. Everybody that buys a home for the first time is a first-time home buyer. But it's not going to be your 18 to 24-year-old anymore out of college because they just don't have the income or the pay structure to support the mortgages where the homes are starting at 200,000 average or 250 I think is nation average.
I remember, and don't mind me, I'm going to adjust my microphone here.
Yeah.
Couldn't even hear that. That's a good setup here, buddy.
You're welcome.
When I was 26 years old, when I bought my first house, 26. And I remember that was back in 2007, right where you could still basically qualify for anything you wanted. And I remember that being a bit of a struggle. Things started to close a little bit later into 2008. That's when the crash hit. But I remember being 26 and thinking, man, this is a stretch. I really want my piece of the American dream, but man, am I really going to be able to afford this? We did. everything was fine. But 26 years old, you're saying that people are going to have to wait later?
Yeah. You're going to see more first-time homebuyer shift to 28 to 35 instead of 18 to 24 category out of college. So there's going to be a lot of renters that have to work their way up in their careers to be able to afford the mortgages on a $200,000-$300,000 house. I mean, here's an example. I'll give you a great example. I this isn't my client, but one of a client of a friend that's in the industry. 3 years ago, he came across a house. It was his first purchase, and he didn't know if he should do it. And his advice was, he asked, when's the best time to buy? Should I wait? And he goes, no. You actually missed the best time to buy.
Okay.
The best time to buy was probably 2016, 17, 18, leading up to before COVID. That's when it was like the perfect trifecta where values bottomed out and were starting to come up, and the interest rates had fallen to 4%, 3-4%.
You know
that
what?
was the best time to buy.
You're making my day right now, buddy, because I bought my house in March of 2017.
Okay, so you bought it at the best spot. So this was a couple years later, and it was 3 years ago, and he found a home. It was $90,000, first time home buyer in Rockford, and he was questioning if he should invest. And he was told absolutely and yes, and right now is the best time to buy going forward because values are going to continue to rise.
Yeah.
But you missed the best period, but go ahead and buy it. So he did.
Yeah.
Well, he just applied a couple weeks ago to upgrade to a larger home. He's done with his starter home. Guess what he's selling his home for 3 years later? He did a few things to it, made it livable,
upgrades,
comfortable.
okay.
Yeah. 180,000. Same home. So had he rented for those 3 years?
Yeah.
Look at how much money he would have not had.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
So when I get the question from buyers is, what's the best time to buy? It's not now. It passed. You missed it. But waiting is only going to make it worse because these values are going to continue to go up, up, up. It's going to be 6 to 10 years before we have any kind of even thought of a correction because we still have such a shortage. So the demand is not going to decrease. This is the time to buy going forward. So don't wait because you don't want to be that guy that had a chance at $150,000, $160,000 starter home that you could still get in our area today.
Because housing is always going to be worth more. They're not making more land. Like
that's correct.
We got what we got, right? So if I'm hearing you right, buddy, you're saying that the best time, although technically speaking, that was a wonderful time for people to buy. You're saying the best time isn't yesterday. The best time isn't tomorrow. The best time is always right now to maximize.
Unfortunately, the best time is gone, but now is a really good time for the foreseeable future to get in. And it's almost like we're turning into a two-class group of the people that own a home and the people that don't. And there isn't going to be this affordable, cheap starter home section of the economy. I don't see it until there is a correction in the market or the rises come. Income levels rise. So until that happens, we're going to be unfortunately stuck down this path. So get in now. Yeah. There's things that realtors are not urgent enough, in my opinion, right now with how serious this is. Values are going up, up, up. It's going to be tougher and tougher and tougher for people that have the dream of owning a home to get in. And all they're hearing is interest rates are bad, don't buy. That is furthest from what they should worry about because interest rates are a variable thing. Right. It comes and goes.
So realtors, of course, their job, I'm not a realtor, by the way, I just do marketing for them.
Yes.
But realtor's job is basically to find the best solution for their client's need, right? Whatever housing that is, it's to find the best solution, get them the best deal on the house. It's your job as the lender, as the mortgage dad, to qualify them and get them the funds necessary to make that possible. So from your perspective, from the funding side of things, how do you make that happen for people financially? How can you make a good financial decision when interest rates are literally 300% what they were just 2 years ago?
The interest rates won't be here very long. They're going to be here for the foreseeable future. They're going to continue to go up. I think this winter is going to be the worst winter we've had. But down the road, there isn't anybody that's saying that rates are not going to come back down in a couple years once we get through this inflationary period. So, by buying now, I'm going to qualify you for your income coming in. So there isn't a magic secret or trick of how to qualify for a home. It's simple. It's math. You have X amount of income coming in, X amount going out, and we have to be at or below a ratio to do it. Now, what I'm hearing a lot of, and this is where organizations like IDA, Illinois Housing Development Authority, or WEED up in Wisconsin, the Freddie Mac has a program where you can get $3,000. Grants is what helps people get in because you need to have some equity. You can't buy a house with no money down. Sure. Only VA. I guess there is a program, VA, that still does no money down.
Yeah. I had a grant when I bought my first house.
That is the help that you need.
Yeah.
And you need an expert to kind of guide you through that. We, get the grant, get the funds saved, buy your house now. But and when I said that about the realtors, I'm not saying all realtors. I'm saying the good realtors right now understand the urgency of anybody that doesn't own a home right now. This may be your last chance for a while. Don't worry about the rates, because if you wait until rates come down to 4%, the values are going to be probably 20 to 30% higher, and you may have just priced yourself out of the house.
You might not be able to get it later.
Correct.
And then of that value, that could go into your pocket.
Yep.
And it's not.
And you're going to miss it.
Would you rather have it in your pocket or spend it?
Yep. So if you do the math, the simple math on that equation, and just using my friend's example, say today was 3 years ago, rates are 8%. And if you do the math on a $90,000 home, $90,000 mortgage, over 3 years, I think the math came out to be like $12,000 in interest. If rates were 8% instead of 5 back then, or 4. It's about 11 to 12,000 in interest. But by doing it, to say today, so let's say that this $90,000 home is available today, and he buys at 8%. And over the next 3 years, until the rates come down and he refinances his mortgage down to the 4s, he pays an extra $12,000 in interest over that 3-year period. But he just gained $90,000 in value.
Right.
That's the key that people don't understand in this market that we're in. And they're too afraid to do anything because all they're hearing from mainstream media, anything you turn on is rates are high, rates are high, rates are high. Don't do anything.
Everybody's getting scared because
they're
hearing all of these people that don't understand.
I think that what we need to be doing as a community, real estate community, is educating our buyers and saying, listen, you need to have a sense of urgency because you may not get that house. If you want to be a homeowner, if that's your dream, and that is the American dream, you need to have a sense of urgency because values are not coming down anytime soon. They're only going to rise because the shortage is real.
Right.
And it's not going away anytime soon. And don't worry about rates are going to, they're an oscillating thing. They go up, they go down. That's a market in itself. And rates will come down and you can refinance. That's always a available option.
A beautiful thing about the community we're in right now, though, is that I've never seen, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never seen values go down out here since the recession, since the crash. I think
they went down in certain areas at the beginning of the year. I think the most our area got hit was like 2 to 3%, maybe 5 in some pockets, but nothing like what was predicted.
Yeah.
There was no correction. It basically hit a plateau and it stayed there, a little bump, and now we're right back up.
Keeps going. I think the average is something like 3% average increase a year.
I think we're at over 7% year to date, 9%, something like that.
Yeah, and that's what you're saying. You're like, housing is insanely good right now as an investment because values are rising so much.
Yep. So
so what about the people who own now, but they're not gonna sell? They maybe want to sell. They maybe even need to sell, but they're not doing it because they feel like they don't want to have to pay that high interest for a new house.
I say the same thing. The value interest is a variable thing. It will go up. It will go down. The average person keeps a mortgage for 5 years. It's just that's kind of the average.
Sure.
And so don't look at it at what the rates are at. If you want to move and you want to get a bigger home,
Mm-hmm.
it's better to do that now. When, like, say you're home at a home that's 200,000 and you want to get into that $350,000 house. Do that now.
Yeah.
In 2 years, yes, you'll get 250, 275. That other home will be 4. If you're if you're making a move up, the gap is going to widen when values go up for you to qualify for that larger home.
Mm.
Do it now, and we will refinance you down to the 4s and 5s when this inflation thing kind of ends. So I want to talk a little bit about that because
because you just said the key word there, refinance, right?
Refinance. Yeah. So what another interesting thing that I think nobody's talking about, and it should be a very big conversation, is what's happening in the economy as far as inflation is concerned.
Yeah.
So that's a big word that scares everybody. There isn't anybody I know that likes to pay more for something. Granted, yes, inflation's
I could tell you a few people.
Okay,
as long as it's not their money.
Yeah, so prices of goods go up. That's called inflation.
Yeah.
What happens? What do you think happens when inflation stops? Nothing? You got nothing?
I'm not an economist, my man. If you can ask me all day about how to convert a potential customer into a lead into money for a client. You can ask me all kinds of things about branding and digital marketing. You ask me about the economy, I'm leaning on you,
I gotcha. So when inflation stops, that means that the price of goods stop going up. So I think with what's happening, there are too many people that have this false belief or this false feeling that, oh, we just have to wait for whatever's happening to stop and things will be better again. I'll go back, things will go back.
I don't see anything going back.
It's
I'm
not
telling
going
you
to.
right now, if I'm consulting with somebody about pricing or positioning and they're trying to sell an individual product for $50 right now, because that's the demand price. It's not like in 2 years they're going to drop the price down to $40 because inflation stopped. No, they set the value already. You're already paying it now. You're not going to be paying less.
That is, I think, what's happening across America. That is not being discussed. When inflation stops, it means that prices stop going up. It doesn't mean that we're going back to where things were.
Yeah, stuff isn't going to go back down.
No. So here we are. We have half. I would say there's a good half of America that is hurting right now, and they either won't admit it or they won't come to terms with it.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, in 2000, people were making X amount of money. Granted, yes, some of them may be making more money today, but values of things or the cost of things have gone up so much. Here's another thing. They're not doing these handouts from the government for, I think if you had kids, you got some payments back in 21, 20. If you owned a business, you got help. Their student loans were stopped for how long? Guess what? That faucet's back on.
Yep.
So things are going up, and things are getting out of control for some people. And they're either not admitting it or they're not coping with it. And that's a problem. So what you need to do is and take advantage of what we just talked about in the first half of this video is if you have record, the biggest asset that you have is your home. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Well, most people.
Yes.
Not that that's
no,
everybody, but
homeowners. We're talking about homeowners.
Yeah, a lot of people are sitting on $150,000, $200,000, $400,000 house, and that's their biggest asset.
It's the biggest asset. And values have never been higher than they are today.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to really talk about with a lot of people is if you're a part of the half of America that's struggling to make ends meet because everything's more expensive and you're starting to live on credit cards or you have all these other debts that you've taken out, take the beating now, clean it up. Let's have a consultation. Let's talk. That's all I'm saying. Let's talk about it. Let's take a look into what's out there, how much you have, how much you bring in on a monthly basis, what's going out on a monthly basis, because there's probably, I would say if 10 people called me that realized, after hearing this, that we're like, oh my gosh, he's talking to me. I'm struggling. Like, I'm paying for things on credit cards and I'm not being able to.
You're talking to America. You're talking about
Yeah.
people who, because they're not making enough money to pay for things because of inflation, they're going into credit card debt and they can't afford to live.
I bet
America
Yes.
lives off of debt
right now. And,
Yeah.
and I'm saying, if out of 10 people that called me, I bet there's probably a good half of those people that if I could probably come up with a solution that, let's take the hits, we'll consolidate everything and use that greatest asset that you have. Like, there's too many people that I hear and I cringe when I hear it. It's like, oh yeah, but I got 2.5% on my mortgage. I'm like, that's great. When you can't make your bills and you are guess where you're going to head? Bankruptcy and foreclosure.
Yeah,
So
two
when
and
it comes to that,
yeah.
are you going to be more excited about your 2.5% mortgage rate or the fact that you have to file bankruptcy?
2.5% sounds really good when you're going to keep your mortgage for 30 years, right? When you're
Right.
looking at the total nut on the house, but you're $60,000 in debt right now. Like, what are you going to do about that?
And the falsity of, when inflation comes down, things are going to be good again is not the answer.
Yeah.
So the quicker that people realize that, what I recommend is let's have a conversation. One of the cool things where I work is I have an ability to take a soft pull on credit. It doesn't even hurt their credit. We could take a look. We can dissect and put a plan together. If there's a solution out there, I can guarantee you the team that I work for, we will find it. And let's figure out how to get you on the right path again. And let's take the blows now. And what I mean by that is this. Everybody in 2-3 years is going to do something that's got a mortgage. They're either going to refinance or they're going to move or they're just going to stay put. Like if you're that, I'm not talking about the client or the American, the person living down the block that's got no debt, that's making plenty of money, that is uber fiscally responsible, has no kids or, kids are through college, whatever. And they're at 2.5% and they're just finishing off their mortgage. Cool, man. You're awesome. That's not most of America. I'm talking about the people that are
Not even
struggling.
close.
No, not even close. I'm talking about people that are struggling that maybe don't realize that they are. Let's have the conversation. Take the hits now. And what I mean by hits is this. When you have a mortgage, every mortgage, no matter what bank, what financial institution, anywhere you're going to, that mortgage is determined, that rate is determined by a point system. Have you ever heard the term points with mortgages?
Yeah. I never really fully understood them, but we've talked a little bit about this. And
Okay.
I like where you're going.
So with points are 1% of the loan amount that you take out is what's considered a point. And when it comes to pricing a rate, so how to figure out what your rate is versus my rate, it's simply a point system based off of every factor that would be considered risk by the lending institution. So what that means is it a single family home or is it a condo? Banks, lenders feel that condos are more risky than single family residences. Why? Because there's association, there's common ground. So there's a risk that something can go wrong. And it wouldn't even be that person's fault. So there's an adjustment there. There's an adjustment for your credit score. If you have a better credit score, I have a better credit score, different rate. There is an adjustment for how much equity you have. There's an adjustment for if you're taking equity out. So like what we're discussing is, if there's a solution for these Americans and that's consolidate some debt, they're going to take a hit for that. So when I say let's do it now, this is the best time. Values have never been higher. Let's reassess. Inflation is real. Student loans are back. Handouts are gone. There is no more COVID, that the government's handing out. So let's sit down. Let's review your scenario. And if there is a plan or something that we can come up with that makes sense, it works, let's do it. And why you do it now? You do it now because rates are high. And to most people, that's like, that doesn't make any sense. But it's the point system. Everything in mortgage is based on the point system. If you have debt that you're carrying on a credit card, or if you have debt that is in a installment loan, wherever, and you're living with it, your credit score is going to be lower. The credit bureaus, they look at that, and do you carry a lot of debt? If you look like you're struggling, your credit score is going to show it.
Right.
Okay. Number one. Number two, one of the factors, the point system, is the cash out part of it. So when you're taking equity out, you get a hit on your credit, okay? On your credit or your mortgage rate.
Sure.
Understood? So what I'm saying is 2-step program. We talk, we visit the solution to put you back on track where your money coming in is more than enough to be able to save, have fun, and pay your bills. We take a blow to the rate now. Rates are high anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter to you if you get 7.5 or 8.2. No. But what it's going to do is it's going to improve your credit score because you're not going to have all that debt outstanding anymore. And it's going to take care of the cash out part. So when rates come down, guess who's going to be looking to do a rate and term refinance with a great credit score?
Yeah, I hear where you're going with this. You're basically saying because there's some people out there that, for sake of numbers, $50,000 in debt, but they bought a house 6 years ago for $150,000, but it's currently valued at $250,000. You're saying refinance, get that equity out, pay off your credit card debt, improve your credit score, and then in a few years when rates decrease a bit more, now you have a great credit score and you're not going to take those hits later, so you can maximize the value of the lower interest and be able to qualify for that house that's going to be worth even more money down the road. Because if you don't do any of that, you're still in debt, you've still got a bad credit score, and you're still going to have to pay the same amount of money for a much higher value home down the road anyways. So you're saying take your hits now so you can recover and be ready down the road.
To be a beast.
Yeah.
To be a buying beast when it comes to mortgage in 2-3 years when the rates are down. Yeah. And it could be a year and a half. We don't know. Everybody said that, this inflation would last a year, and by the end of this year, rates would start coming down. Yeah. We know that's not true.
Sounds a lot like what I try to tell people when it comes to brand equity, for instance, in marketing. The idea is not that I'm not going to create a logo and come up with personality and build these social media platforms and do a bunch of digital marketing, have you immediately be recognized by the entire nation. It takes time to build that equity, and it's going to hurt while you're building it because you have to spend time and money to make it happen. So you're essentially saying that for the housing market.
Yep. Yeah. So take the hits now when the rates are bad. It's a 2-step. I call it the no debt 2-step.
No debt 2-step.
No debt 2-step. 2-step. Come talk to me. We'll find we'll find a solution. That's the key. The key here is let's stop the bleeding. Let's put you in a good spot.
Yeah.
So what that you lose your 2.5%, 3% that you had for these last couple years. That's great. But we're going to take care of your debt. You're going to sleep at night. You're going to take all the hits. So in 2 years, 3 years, and no matter if you're looking to refinance or buy, guess who's going to be a prime buyer?
Yeah.
Would you rather have no debt and qualify for a new home in 3 years when you want to move and have excellent credit and be able to have the best rate possible, or refinance to the better rate possible? Because I can tell you this, somebody that waits and doesn't listen 2-3 years from now, either they're going to be so bad that they won't qualify to refinance, or if they do, they're going to take a hit for credit and a hit for cash out. So when rates are 4, they're going to every bank's going to tell them, well, we'll give you 5. Could have had 4 if you listen to George, the mortgage dad, and did the 2-step.
Look, no, man, we're both the dads in real life.
Yes.
So we understand what it's like to be right about something.
Yes.
And have people not realize it until it's too late.
Yeah, unfortunately.
That's how it goes.
So that is kind of a convoluted answer to where we started this video, and that was talking about the fact that you're sleeping in a hotel right now.
Look, man, I get free breakfast in the morning. Okay?
You get free breakfast and crappy coffee.
I don't have to make my bed right now, so there's that.
So you got
really bad coffee.
pucks.
So if anybody has like Starbucks gift cards they want to shoot over my way, I'm in the market.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for being the inaugural guest on my video series.
Hold up.
Oh,
hold up. Earlier you said special guest, and I'm keeping that title special.
Special?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was when the special guest title came when we were kind of testing the mics.
Yeah,
That wasn't,
it counts.
it counts? Okay.
It
So,
counts.
all right. So thank you for being my inaugural special guest on Underwritten.
My pleasure.
Underwritten. And I appreciate you guys for hanging in with me. And we will definitely be back. And this is, like I said, it's not going to be a regimented every week or every 2 weeks or every month. It's going to be when there's a need. And I feel that it's appropriate to have another guest on to either talk about, who knows, maybe it'll be a first-time home buyer that I want to talk to.
Maybe it could be, I don't know, at my new place when I finally get to stay there.
I don't know if I want a special guest on twice. I mean, we have to share the wealth. But yes, I will be back. I appreciate everybody that took the time to listen. Please subscribe to my channel here, and we will continue to bring you content. I want to bring you real content with real people that are experiencing what you guys are in this world we call real estate. So thank you, and you guys have a great day.